Hey guys, did you hear James Perse just recently announced that they're going to be expanding their current retail point of sale strategy? Meaning, while you guys all know they've got hundreds of stores that have exactly to do with their ready to wear, their clothing and accessories line, James Perse is going to be expanding into a home concept store, and they are going to be expanding into launching a activewear line called Yosemite and doing some concept stores and pop-up shops around that. Now, what is so exciting about that? Well, guys, recently we've been seeing kind of a trend over the last few years of lifestyle brands and retail and fashion companies starting to bridge out into not just adjacent product lines, but also looking into additional branding opportunities. And we're starting to see brands that are taking on much bigger expanses and much bigger looks and feels into the lives of their consumers. Case in point, Parachute Home with the launch and expansion into their hotel. West Elm is also branching out into hotels and to looking into sponsoring these kinds of opportunities. And when you think about companies like James Perse and other fashion companies, we have to start to ask ourselves, what are the other kinds of branded opportunities for companies to create? Right? Outside of just going into other products, right? What are the other ways in which we can fully realize a brand? Now, I was talking to the other day with a journalist, and we were talking specifically about co-working spaces and different ways in which co-working spaces can start to take a much bigger role into the life of a brand, and how retail and brands are starting to communicate with co-working. And one of the interesting concepts that we were talking about had to do specifically with what if a co-working space was branded, right? What if a company like LaFleur launched their own co-working space? And a similar conversation came up with one of our clients the other day as we were talking about their launch and their new branding, saying, hey, what if we had a bigger representation of the brand as it comes to the automobile industry, right? Or looking into other sectors that your brand can now expand into. So Women's Wear Daily broke the story about James Perse. They're really looking to reinvent the home. The whole story kind of talks about this concept store, what this furniture store is going to look like, how they're going to be expanding into these other lifestyle categories. But guys, I really think the true opportunity here for James Perse is not just going to be in product extensions, but guys, it's going to be in other lifestyle extensions. So we're thinking about, what is James Perse's take on the hotel? What is the James Perse take on, let's say, a cafe, right? So I think it's important as we look at brands and building lifestyle brands, if you're not building one product or you're not an item-driven company, it's really important that we start to think of our businesses in terms of brands, adjacent, bigger lifestyle brands, right? How can you push the concept of what you stand for beyond transaction and more into service industries? And so when you start to separate yourself from the product and you look at your business as a brand, you realize, like Richard Branson of Virgin, you brand can also be involved in multiple different sectors, but still retain the same brand DNA and still retain the same quality as you originally had launched with the first brand that you're working on today. So another great opportunity, take a step back, look at some perspective and say, okay, what does my brand stand for? Look at at James Perse, right? I have a clothing line. I'm launching into athletic wear. I have a home concept store. Now I'm looking into other products, but what are the service industries that I can break into? And what are the other white labeled products? So for example, it's clear that a company like Parachute didn't go out and say, hey, we're going to learn all about hoteling and we're going to learn all about customer service from a hotel standpoint and hotel management and all of that. No, it's a collaborative white labeled experience. And guys, what's super interesting about what's happening in the hotel space is that very often it is investment groups that are opening up and managing these and then leasing out kind of the fully run and fully functioning hotel operations to other companies, right? So the Hiltons, the whoever, right? Four Seasons, etc. They're not always building and launching their own hotels, right? They are sometimes looking at these investment groups that are finding the properties, renovating them, getting them up to speed, staffing them up, and then looking for the branded white label partner who's going to come in and private label the whole thing. So guys, it's time to think a little bit bigger. It's time to take a cue from what's happening in the retail landscape and say, hey, what other brand extensions can we stand for, right? What are the other ways in which we can make our footprint? And it's time to think bigger than that. especially in the beginning. Because what I have found is that businesses and brands that start off really small, and they're just so attached to the specific product, they fail to see the opportunities that are in front of them. And I think it's important to understand that, right? Either you're going to be truly lifestyle brand, not just in categories, but in actual offerings, or you're going to really focus on being this product driven brand, which means you really have to win on margins with your product. You really have to win with delivering that particular customer service proposition, right? Because you're not entering into these different sectors. You're known specifically for that one product. All right, guys, I hope that was exciting for you. I'm really excited to see what happens and what's new on the retail landscape. I'll be tuning in next week to chime in about other interesting things that are happening in retail. One other article that I wanted to quickly bring up that I was reading about in The Cut, a really interesting and fascinating article that had to do with business modeling. And I just want to drop a quick few words on why this article was super amazing. But basically, it was talking about how there are these different types of business models when it comes to retail. And guys, as you may know, if you've been watching Retailing Weekly for a while, I'm a huge fan of brick and mortar as well as e-com, right? I love it all. And when it comes to looking at brick and mortar, you really have two really great brick and mortar examples, right? One is be more than one thing to your customer, which we all know you have to be, right? Cafe, workshops, selling product, selling services. You really have to be an encompassing hub and touch point as a retailer. Or again, you focus on the one thing, right? You focus on being very niche, very specific, very item driven. So guys, we're seeing this example of the brand side of diversifying also apply to the retail side. So if you guys are opening up retail stores, we have a really awesome one opening up this year in Bahrain. I'm really proud and excited about that. But if you start to look at that from the retail standpoint, the same principles apply, right? You've got to think about diversifying what lifestyle groups you are pitching into and creating a brand hub that stands for something. So now more than ever, what is your brand DNA? What do you stand for? And how are you going to espouse that messaging in the best way possible? Think big, go wide. I don't know, guys, maybe Away launches with a plane company, right? Maybe they partner up with Boeing and Away launches with their own private air jets. Who the hell knows? But the sky's the limit, especially if you're launching a brand in today's day and age. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.